Hey, what's poppin'? Happy Blessed Monday, 5 days after Thanksgiving. And I'm making a video of a few things, and it's gonna be scattered everywhere. But one of them is going to be about things that I'm proud of, right? And other scattered things. But you might wanna get your popcorn because I'm also gonna talk about what I admit in my life. Something like that. So get your popcorn and sit tight. So, and I wrote everything down what I want to say because I hate that I forget stuff. So, one of the things that I'm proud of is that as a parent, I did my job as teaching my kids about God and Jesus. I'm beyond happy that I did my job as a parent of teaching my children about God and Jesus. In my other videos, I told you that when I was 23, when I learned about God and learned about his name, that was it. I used to smoke cigarettes. Once I knew that was bad, I stopped by my second Bible study. My second Bible study, I stopped smoking cigarettes. All the way up for almost 10 years. So this journey where I'm about to take you on with me right now about what I'm going to say in this whole video, please go get your popcorn because sit tight. This is going to be a doozy. So by the time I was 23 years old, that was it. I had my second child at 23. My first one was at 18, 19, and then my second one at 23 years old. So I was basically like a late bloomer in having kids. Most of people who I know had their kids at 6, 15, 14, 13 and all that. I didn't have mine until 18, 19, and then my second one, I didn't have until 23. So now, again, like I said, I had stopped smoking cigarettes and got married at 23, 24. So you guys do the math on my whole journey, what I'm about to talk to you about me. So at 23, I stopped smoking cigarettes, had my first Bible study at 23, and started teaching my children about God and Jesus at 23, and was married at 23. So I've always been with God, always been running to him. In fact, the people who I met in my life that, supposedly friends or whatever like that, met them or their parent at church or the hall rather. So this was nothing new. Okay, so another thing that I'm proud of. In my wedding, not the person who I just was with in one of my weddings, not the one who I was just with. I had a big wedding. It was huge. Had, I think there was 12 in my wedding party. 6 girls, 6 guys. And I bought all the bridesmaids' dresses. I did. The only thing they had to buy was their shoes. We set off white wedding doves. The whole wedding party let go of white wedding doves. Got married at a church. Catered my own food, of course, because I can cook. And we had servers to serve the food. It was like a buffet, but we had servers serve the food. And we had a white limousine, had them get picked up, my bridesmaids and grooms picked up by the limousine. So, and my wedding was something to talk about. It was pretty big in my town. And I really worked hard for it. For some reason, some people don't think that I've ever worked on it. I have no idea why, but this is something that I'm proud of, that I worked my behind off of that. and had a tummy tuck because at that time I had 6 children, buried 1. And I went back down to my regular size. I was like maybe 110, 115 after I had my 6 kids, buried 1. And I was tiny, and I had skin that could stretch all over the place, only my tummy. So I'm like this, but stretch skin to where you can stretch it from here to Alaska. And I hated it. So I was the first person in my town who ever paid for a tummy tuck in liposuction in cash. It was over $5,000. I paid for that in cash because I worked for it. Worked my behind off for it. So I'm very proud that I was able to do that. Something that I wanted. And I did it. And another thing that I'm proud of, I never had my lights turned off for my children. Never. Never had to have my kids move in with anybody, ever, because I couldn't pay the rent. I've never had that done. My children don't know anything about that. I never had to ask anybody for pamper money, for milk money, anything like that. Now, I never had to ask for food. I've always had that. Now, I will say this. With my ex, not the one who I was with one of my ex-husbands, right? He had took off, and it was his part to pay his part of the bill. And I did have to ask somebody for some change because I relied on that because I was paying, other stuff in the house and everything. But I did have to ask somebody for some change, and that was my last time I ever had to ever do that. It never got cut off. It never got cut off, but I did have to ask somebody for some change, and I gave that back ASAP. So again, I never had any lights or anything off. Never had to ask for food or anything like that. Never had to move in with anybody because I couldn't pay rent or anything like that. I'm proud of all those things that my children never had to endure. But that last time that, that was gazillion years ago that I had to ask, what's that word? What's the word I'm looking for? I learned my lesson. So I don't like ever having to ask anybody anything. So even when I was smoking, I never had to ask nobody for a cigarette because I knew how to budget. So I learned, as I was growing up to budget, make sure my bills are paid, and whatever I had left, I could do whatever. So these are other things that I'm proud of. And again, I want to say that besides the fact that, yes, I'm proud of all these things, these are accomplishments from me, from not having any parent teach me how to do any of these things. So yes, I am proud that my children never had to endure any of those things, having to move in with anybody. And I'm also proud of the fact that I never been to prison. A lot of people can't say that, and especially a lot of females. I've never been to prison, in Jesus' name. Got arrested for a few things, yeah. Minor, and they're minor. They're not even felonies, for minor things, when I was younger. And I've never been to prison. So a lot of people, and especially a lot of women, cannot say that they've never been to prison. A lot of women can't say that they had their children have to move in with their parents or anything like that because they couldn't afford the rent. That's on them, and I'm not making fun of anybody who had to do that. I'm just saying my accomplishments as that things that I'm proud of, that I taught my children about God and Jesus. At 23, I had my first Bible study. At 23, I stopped smoking cigarettes for 10 years. And I had a big, huge wedding that I paid for. that was over $10,000, mind you. Paid for all my bridesmaid dresses, paid for that. And not only that, we paid for bowling. You know, the weekend before we get married, took them all out bowling. We paid for that. Okay. And I paid for my tummy tuck. That was over $5,000. That was back then. So I was one of the first people to ever even get it. That's on period. So these are the things that I'm proud of. And never had my lights turned off. Never had my kids have to move anywhere. Never had to ask for food. Never went to prison. These are a lot of accomplishments that I'm very proud of. Now, let's see, because I wrote this down. Okay, now that that part is over, I want to talk about what I'm going to say, and this is the last time I ever want to talk about it again. And the only reason why I'm talking about this, what I'm about to talk about, is so that way you guys are clear on my life. Because you guys can go back, and I really didn't do much in my life. But since I've given myself to God, and I've had enough time to reflect and think about a lot of things, this is the part where I'm going to talk to you about, okay? Now, it's going to be two things at once. The people who had a problem with me, them saying that, you know, when I drank, which was once in a blue moon, are the same people who were sleeping with my ex. That's just a little part. And the people who said I had a problem drinking, which was only once in a blue moon, are the people who were pill poppers, something that I wasn't doing. And the people who had a problem, who said that I had a problem drinking, which is, again, once in a blue moon, were the same people who were doing drugs, doing something that I wasn't doing. Nearly burnt holes through their nose. And the people who said that I had a problem drinking are the same ones who were sleeping with other people's men, their friends, boyfriends, girlfriends, sisters, whatever like that. And the people who said that I had a problem drinking got that from the other people that I wasn't chilling with. So let me make that clear. So the other people who I really didn't even engage with got that gossip from people who were either on drugs, popping pills, sleeping with their best friend's man or their sister's man or whatever. And I was the topic of their conversation. Now, mind you, I helped all those people who supposedly had a problem with me. I was their topic of conversation. And I'm going to repeat this so that way you guys get a better understanding. Because I'm just like how you are right now, I'm the same way. Well, I was. And the reason why I'm saying all this is because I come to a conclusion of how can anybody, what's going on? It's because of my ex who I was with. He was sleeping with my supposedly friends. And he got the numbers out of my phone when I was either asleep or passed out in my own house. So nobody ever seen me drunk, tore up, or anything like that, because I was always in my house. And the people who had a problem with me, who said who had a problem with me, I was chilling with them when I was in my 30s. And that was gazillion years ago. And if they're still talking about stuff that I was in my own home, you already know where they're going with this hat. And I'm not going to say that, no, I didn't do other things when I was in my 30s, because I was in my 30s. Yes, I tried some stuff when I was in my 30s. I said that before in my other videos. Yeah, I tried it, some certain stuff. Never did no crack. Crack is whack. I did try some stuff when I was in my 30s. I was a late bloomer. I knew drugs was bad and not to do it. God had me on a different mission, and he didn't want me to stay on those things that people are still doing now to this day. They made it their whole life story of still doing drugs. God saw fit not to have me ever want to ever stick with that, which people are still doing now to this day. Some people grow out of certain people, and that's why you can't be friends with everybody. In my life, I grew out of certain people, and I'm not mad at it because they're still doing drugs. God saw fit for me to move a different way, and I'm not mad at it. So again, the people who had it said and put out there and trying to make a rumor about me are the same ones that were sleeping with my ex. So I had to take the guilt off of them or whatever and put it on me so that way it can make my ex feel better about himself. But now here's the thing. I had to let you guys know. I'm gonna back it up now. Now I'm gonna back it up. And this is where I say you guys need your popcorn now. I did not know. I did not love myself. I had no clue. I didn't know that I didn't love myself because I kept taking my ex back. Now, yes, the ex that I just left with, my last one, I kept taking him back. And I didn't know I didn't love myself. He has humiliated me so many times, and I took him back. This last time that I took back, we were engaged 5 times. The last time before that, we were gonna get married in the Poconos, and he gave me a Dear John letter, whatever like that. Well, it wasn't even a Dear John letter. He took off 6 weeks before we were going to get married, and the wedding was already paid for. This is the part where I admit to myself and to you all that I didn't love myself and how ignorant and stupid that I did to myself, and that I can't blame anybody else for what I did because what I chose to look at. I chose to take him back. I did that to myself. Can't blame that on nobody else but me. He showed me his hand plenty times. And I chose to take him back. Did you get your popcorn yet? Because I'm admitting that. I chose to take him back. Now I'm going to rewind it back to the year 2008. Well, I'm going to take it back to the year 2010 when we were together. Now, I'm going to bring it back even further from that because when my house burnt, he was with me and I told him that we can be friends. We can kick it, but you just can't kick it with me. That's what I told him. But my house burnt. He was with me. I was already married at the time. And I got divorced. Well, I didn't get divorced yet. We were separated. He was married at that time. He told me that he was separated. Okay? Now, I had to go in the hotel. My children and I had to go to a hotel. And his ex wind up dropping his clothes off at my house. How does she know I was there? Have no idea. Don't even care. Now, he's saying that he's homeless and he can't go back. And I'm like, I got my kids and I just met this person. I don't even know him like that. So I said, okay, you can come with me for a little while until, you find something. But you know what he did the next day? He filed for divorce. I didn't ask him to do that, but he did it. Now, from there on, I didn't even get divorced, and I was still with him. Still with him. Even after 6 years, I was still married. And I was still with him for 6 years, and I didn't even get divorced yet. He did. He did it the next day. Got divorced 3 months later. I didn't even get divorced yet. It took 6 years. I was still with him for 6 years, and I still didn't even get divorced. I didn't get divorced yet until 8 years later, and I was still with him. And I wind up marrying somebody else. Wind up getting it annulled. I only got married just to be doing it, but just to piss him off. But I wind up getting it annulled anyway. But I didn't get divorced till 8 years later. And I was still with him. Did you get your popcorn yet? Now, gonna rewind that back. He kept going and coming, in and out of my life. That's what he did. That's why I never got divorced. Because I couldn't trust him. He kept going and coming out of my life. He did that for 6 years. And out of those 6 years, never cheated. Never even looked at another man. Now, I kept telling him, out of those 6 years, can you please stop leaving and coming? Because I'm getting kind of bored here. I'm needing the attention. Right? But he still kept doing it. Now, out of those 6 years, he cheated on me. And I still kept taking him back. He thinks that because I didn't catch him in the act, it's not cheating. But out of those 6 years, he kept cheating on me. But I didn't do it. Because it's not in my heart to do. I stuck with it. Right? And again, I warned him, can you please stop? He wouldn't stop. Now somebody's in my DM, right? Why did this go off? Hold on, you guys. Ran. I don't know why that went off. Anyway. I kept telling him to stop leaving me and coming. So somebody was in my DM, right? And it's not somebody new. It was somebody old. Somebody who I was familiar with. in that I had a relationship with before. Well, actually, it wasn't even a relationship. It was that we hooked up. Okay? When I was younger. So, I took off again. And we wind up hooking up again. Now, this time it's a little bit different because now the person who I hooked up with and we don't want to leave each other now. We're seeing each other every day, 2-3 times a day. Maybe even more. Now, my ex wants to come back into my life. And again, I don't love myself, and I didn't know that. I'm just now liking and loving the attention that I never got in my life. Because I never heard that I was pretty or I want you, all this kind of other stuff. Yeah, I had relationships, but it never ended right. I was always a people pleaser, but it never ended right. And yes, my exes always wanted me back. I was a people pleaser. So, my ex, he wanted to come back in my life and everything. And, I said, okay, because something that I was familiar with. And when I say familiar with, he knew my story. He knew that I grew up in DCF. I didn't have any parents and nobody loved me at that time. You know what I mean? And I didn't tell the person about my life. The one that I was hooking up with. I didn't tell him about that part of my life. I was just enjoying the attention that I got, that I haven't gotten so long. It was amazing to me. So I enjoyed the attention. And I went back to my ex because it was familiar and he knew my story. Well, somebody very close to me wind up telling my ex about the person who I was hooking up with. Somebody very close to me told him. And the person that told my ex who I was with had just did some time, basically their whole life. And I didn't know mine and my ex's situation, that he kept leaving me, and it was very, I could do what I want because we weren't together at the time, and I had forewarned him what was going to happen. But for some reason, the person felt sorry for him and didn't know what was going on in our lives and what he was doing to me in the background. That's the way I take it. But this person should have minded their business, because what ended up happening, I still wound up telling my ex, because even though I took him back, I didn't feel right to be with him. Did you get your popcorn yet? It didn't feel right being with him. I wanted to stay with the person who made me feel better. So I ended up telling my ex anyway about who I was seeing. I still told him. I did it. So I didn't need the other person who was very close to me to tell him anything, because I still wind up telling him myself, because I don't have that bone in my body to keep on going on with a lie. I couldn't do that. It was making me sick and nauseous. And by the way, we didn't have sex. I didn't have sex with my ex. I stayed true to the person who I was hooking up with. I stayed true to him. Did you get your popcorn yet? Because I have no reason to lie. It's my story, and I'm the only one that can tell it. So, now, after I told him about the other person. I had him leave my house. I hate that this keeps doing that. I had him leave. Broke up. I had him leave. It wasn't the same. And I wanted to stay with the person that made me feel better. I'm a real G. I have a heart. A lot of people don't have that. So, after we broke up and I told him to leave, and now he's fake crying. But you know what the part was? It was just that, first of all, you have to have a heart to care. He didn't care because he's left me so many times in those 6 years. He's left me so many times dirty. And now, mind you, we never argued. We never argued, did anything. If anything, he gaslit me. I'm going to give you one of the things that he did within those 6 years. I had said to him, because his children was young, and I said, hey, you should call the kids, because it's been a minute, you haven't talked to them. Oh, you don't have to tell me what to do. And guess what? He left. That was just one thing. Because, again, like I was saying, I was a people pleaser. So there was nothing that he didn't have in the house that I didn't give to him. I gave it to him. I was a people pleaser. I always tried to please people. But he wanted his cake and eat it too. So, out of those 6 years, we didn't argue and fight. I didn't do anything. But it was just that the reason why he cried when I told him to leave and I didn't want to be with him no more is because his heart was hurt, because he was always the one doing it to people. Because he told me that with his ex, that he slept with all his ex-friends and family members. So I was like, oh, I know he wouldn't do that with me, but he did. So me breaking up with him, he's never had that. He was always the one doing it to people, to females. So that's what that was about. So we had broke up. Now I'm with this other person, the person who I hooked up with, nothing new, something old. But I'm not going to stick with that on this topic, okay? To make a long story short with that, we ended up breaking up. We stayed together for a minute because we wound up moving into a new apartment and all this kind of other stuff. So it lasted a minute. It wasn't nothing, like one day, nothing. So it lasted, but I'm not trying to stick with that. So, but in the long run, we wound up breaking up for good. And what do you know? Got back with him, my ex. This is the time where, again, we got engaged again. This was the fourth or fifth time. Again, new ring, everything. Upgraded new ring and everything. Sales, everything. Paid for the Poconos, everything. And guess what he did again? Right, he took off again 6 weeks before the wedding. And it was paid for. And, again, like I said, I didn't love myself. I let him walk. He walked all over me. He used to talk to me greasy, tell me that's why don't nobody love me. That's why I don't have any parents. And who would want to be with anybody else? Me, I stuck with him. Yes, I stuck with him because I didn't want to tell my story again. So yes, I stuck with him. He talked to me crazy. It was disgusting, and I still stuck with it. And after that, yes, we broke up again. back together again. Broke up again. Took off again. See how many times he keeps breaking out and coming and going, coming and going, coming and going. I done lost count. Coming and going, coming and going. And me, I'm a people pleaser. So again, we didn't argue. I never knew if he was ever, shoot, he said he was going to get a pack of cigarettes and never came back. Did you get your popcorn yet? This was him. In fact, he done took off on me so many times. He even took off on me. I don't mean myself sick. He done took off on me. I'm in the hospital. And took off. And we're over here arguing in the hospital. He's picking fights with me and everything. And took off while I'm in the hospital. The hospital people had to tell him to leave because he kept messing with me. And now people's like, damn, he done did all that. I still stuck with him. Yes, I did. I didn't know. I didn't love myself. He would say apologize, and I would accept it. I would accept it. That's how much dirt he did to me. This is only little pieces of it. So, got back together again. Got engaged again. Another ring, right? And he's telling me that there's some rumors about him. And he wants, and I'm like, but I'm brushing the rumors off as if it's nothing. And he wants to get married the next day. And I'm like, wait a minute, hold on. I at least want to get a dress, you know what I'm saying? Cause, so we could take pictures. This is going to be my last time, you know what I'm saying? I ever want to get married. And he's like, okay. So I get my dress and we got married in a little hole in the wall. I already had my big wedding. I already did that. I don't have nothing to prove. My wedding's still being talked about, my last one. So we get married in a little hole in the wall at a hotel, and got married there, right? Now, I'm gonna back it up. Before all this, okay? You just hold on to your seat. Just stay right there, because this is the last time this is where we got married at. But now I'm gonna bring it all the way back. One of those last times, one of the second and third, actually, fourth time that I took off. Well, we were in a town, right? And one of my ex-friends came over. I had wind up passing out, and guess what he was doing? Guess what they were doing? They were having sex. Well, she was slapping on his knob. I woke up to it. I didn't say anything. Then, guess what? I guess it was so good he left me again that next day. To go be with that. Now, that was supposed to be my friend, right? There was another time when we had broke up, got back together. I had slept, I was a lightweight. I was tiny. It didn't take much for me. It didn't take much for me. I drank, I passed out, I go to sleep. I wasn't a fighter doing any of that. I drink and I go to sleep. Well, guess what? He did it again, but with another supposedly friend of mine. And I woke up to it again. This time, it didn't happen. I woke up to where it was about to happen. And guess what? You guys got it. That's right. That next day after that, he done took off again. You're right. Absolutely. Yes, he did. You guys are catching on. So, now I'm going to go back to where we're getting married. Got married. And now, mind you, I know all this. He doesn't think that I know all this because he thinks that I passed out. I don't remember anything or anything like that. And I went on with the gag. I went on with that gag to let him think that I didn't know anything or whatever like that, because I didn't love myself and I didn't want to tell my story to another man. I didn't want to have another man be with me, be inside me, or any of that. And I didn't know I didn't love myself. But yes, I let the disrespect happen. And I ended up marrying him. And he still wasn't over it, because in his phone, he had porn on there. But it wasn't the porn that we would like. Well, I wouldn't say like, but you would think that it would be porn that we would, but it wasn't like that. He had different type of porn on there. And he didn't think that I'd seen that part before he broke the phone, because when he took it out of my hand, he smashed it. And yeah, no, I seen it. And I was like, okay, I guess that's why he wanted to marry me really quick, because of the rumors that he said that was going on. So, you got your popcorn? Now that we're married, and I don't want him to take off on me again. So, I tried my hardest, even though I was a people pleaser. I was trying my hardest to please him in every way, right? And even to the point where, you know, we stay on the phone, because now I don't even trust him like that, because what I seen on his phone. So we would stay on the phone, even when he was at work. We stayed on the phone all the way till he came back home. And he tried to make arguments and everything and stuff like that. But if he had it his way, right when we got married, he would have took off. And not only that, he's been with more friends of mine and family members. And one of my other friends, I did her wedding. Moved her by myself. Lived around the corner from her. And this was recent. You know, I don't want to say like yesterday, but it was more recent than the other ones. And the thing about it though now, he is not even a looker. Wasn't back then and he's not now. And you already know why I was with him. I didn't love myself. So, the fake friends that was with my ex, I know who they are. I could put their name out there, but I'm not going to give them that clout from me, because my ex wasn't even good looking. He looked like Mr. Magoo, and he didn't have any money. So again, you all know why I was with him. I didn't love myself. So you guys do the math of the reason why my ex-friends were with him. The only thing I can guess is because I was with him, and it looked good to them, because my houses, and I mean houses because I always had, you know, I had, I think, 3 houses. One big, huge one, which they called it the mansion. My apartments were always beautiful. Always beautiful. All of my apartments were always beautiful. And I was always taken care of. And I always had my own money, though. Always had my own money, but I was always taken care of. So on the outside looking in, and you know, whatever you see, oh wow, she always had nice houses. Always nice apartments. I want what she got. And it's funny because I know that for a fact, they never had what I had. And it's not like they can go and put a picture up and be like, oh, this is my man, this is my man. Because I know they would know that I would know that they were with him. Anyway, my houses and apartments have always been beautiful. In fact, a police officer from the last apartment that I was just with, because I called the police on the person who was harassing me when they came inside my apartment. When they came in, they were like, oh, wow, your apartment's nice. I'm like, thank you. Can we get back to business? Anyway, so here's my thing. None of my friends, ex-friends, have ever been married. None of my ex-friends have ever had a beautiful house than mine. They never had more than me. The only thing I could say is that they had a nice car. That's it. I've always had cars, though. 2 times I had been without for a minute, but I always got a car. So they never had more than me. They never did more than me. The only thing I could say is that one of them had a nice car. That's it. So let me see now. Let me see. Oh. So, I was with him. We wound up getting married. Now, we're going to fast forward to all that. To where we ended up right here, right now. Again, as you know, I was a people pleaser. And I didn't want him to do like he did the last time and leave me for no reason, just to do what he did, to be with somebody else, to do whatever like that, because I didn't love myself, right? Now, in the midst of all that, I still had my Bible teacher. Several of them all the time always come to my house and say, are you ready, Sandy? In fact, before I moved to the town I was at, you know, she came to my apartment, and again, not to the last one, because I moved out of town, you know, and he was there. He was like, who was that? I was like, well, my Bible teacher. He used to be like, yeah. So she used to ask me, you ready? I'm like, you know, and then my daughter passed and all that kind of other stuff. So, now mind you, my ex that I married, he didn't have no guilty conscience at all to sleep with any of my friends, ex-friends. He didn't have no guilty. He didn't have any conscience at all. This man was sick. had sex and doing all that kind of stuff. Why? I'm sleeping. It goes to show you who this person really is. Sick. So, how he got here right now, he didn't have to do anything. I was a people pleaser, so you know I tried my hardest. And guess what? He was on a dating app, and he still kept in contact with my ex-friends. Doesn't know that I know, but I know. So, what did he do? He took off again. And what did he do the next day after he took off? You got it. He went to the courthouse and asked for a divorce. Do you see? What he did with the last, he did with me. Went to the courthouse March 21st. He left March 20th, March 21st. And asked for a divorce. March 21st was the day that my daughter passed away. And that was the day I gave myself to God. March 21st, 2024. And I gave myself to God wholeheartedly and haven't looked back. Because he's never left me. Now, I'm going to say this to you all, right? Because that's always been my thing, being abandoned. Me not having parents, me not having family. That's why I had my children, so I would always have someone around and not be, and fulfill my need of abandonment. And the people in my life when I was younger, they knew I didn't have any family. Like old friends, they knew I didn't have any family. And you know, I have to say my biological mother, she set the tone. She set the tone. Meaning, if she didn't want me, well, she let everybody know that she didn't want me. Didn't know who my father was. She didn't tell me. She let me believe somebody else was my father for a gazillion years. But she set the tone to where she didn't want me, and she threw me into DCF until I maxed out, until I was 18. Until I was 18. So she showed people, if I don't want her, why do you want her? So she set the tone for that. She set the tone for, I don't want her. And I come from a small town. So they all seen that. So she set the tone for that. And that's why I'm guessing that's why I took the abuse from people and was a people pleaser. At least tried to. But she did. She set the tone for her. If I don't want her, why do you? And then my ex, who I was just with, my Titi Yvonne, when she first got in contact with me, I was so happy. I was like, oh my God, I got somebody from my family, like my Rodriguez side of the family, my Titi Yvonne Rodriguez. Oh my God, she got in contact with me. And then he seen it. And she used to mail me stuff, you know, all the time. But just as fast as she came, she left. Abandoned. Again. So he's seeing this. My ex is seeing this. This is my biological mother's sister, my Titi Yvonne Rodriguez. So he's seeing this. So he's seeing I got no parents, no family, and the family I do have, they come and they go. So he's doing the same thing with me. He said it all the time. That's why you don't have nobody love you. He was like, shit, your kids don't even love you. So, you take the abuse. I've taken the abuse from, you know, childhood, you know, because my siblings used to say that all the time. That's why you were adopted. Nobody loves you. I used to get that all the time from them. Then you get it. I got it. You know, I told you I don't want to talk about it, you know, I'm picking people. I'm picking people that I shouldn't have. So, talk about now. So, he took off March 21st. And that day, I gave myself to God. My daughter's death day. And I haven't looked back since. There's so many people out there who know how I feel about being abandoned. And they know that will hurt me. Taking themselves out of my equation. They know that. This alone time that I had, without the people who know that I love them, and I'm not talking about my ex. The alone time that I had, and the time I had by myself without the people who know that I love, has shown me so much that the only person I need is God and Jesus. They are my best friend the time, the days, the hours, the minutes, the months, without these people in my life who have taken themselves out of my life, has shown me so much time that I've wasted that I can't get back. But I'm not mad at it, and I don't regret it. Hell, I don't even regret the person who I married, because if he didn't show me who he was and me realize who he was and me take the blinders off, I wouldn't know what love is. And now I know what love isn't. So I appreciate what he's done. I can only be mad at myself. I can't get mad about who he really is. I can't get mad at that. He's shown me. It was my fault. It was my fault because I didn't love myself. Not that I'm mad because my fault that I didn't love myself. The fact that I learned I didn't love myself on his actions. He was just being who he is. A snake. A narcissist. A disgusting snake narcissist. Who didn't hide it. Well, he did hide. He did hide it. But it was up to me to not keep taking him back on his sick narcissist stuff. So I blame myself for that. I didn't know I didn't love myself. But I'm not mad, and I do not regret any of it. I don't regret any of it because I love myself now. I'm learning every day to love myself now. You know what I do? I look in the mirror now and I say, I love you, Sandy. I love you, Sandy. And I say it almost all the time, every time I go to the bathroom. And I say, I love you, Sandy. I cry every time I do it because I know that I love myself when I'm saying it. And I don't have to question if somebody loves me or if they're telling the truth or anything. I'm not waiting for any of that from anybody. I'm saying it to myself, and I know that I love myself now. I smile now all the time. This is happy smile cries. Because when I look in the mirror, I can say I love you and mean it. And I have best friends. I have best friends. God, Jesus, the universe, Angel Michael, and Angel Gabriel. I have 5 best friends. I'm loved. I am loved. So, now, we're going to go on to something else real quick. Because that little smart mouth, that ain't going to go nowhere. Now, to the people who make fake pages to see my life, boy, oh boy. To the people who make fake pages to see my life on Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, YouTube. How do you feel? You guys really need a life. You guys triggering yourself, because I am highly blessed and highly favored. New apartment, a new car, and a whole lot of blessings that I have. And the thing about it, to the people who hurt me, my ex-friends, the people who slept with my ex, I've done nothing to any of you or anybody out there. I've always been a people pleaser. And I said this in my last video. There's nothing on this, there's nobody on this God's green earth that I ever did anything to, personally, ever. And I'm proud of that. I can say that. A lot of people can't say that. I've not done anything to anybody that I didn't already apologize for. I haven't done anything intentionally. I didn't wake up on my day and say, you know what, I'm gonna mess with this person because just to be doing it. I've never done that. Now, I have faith, I do, and I've had people wake up out their day and try to be my friend fakefully, right? And be mad that my reaction to their fakeness. I'm gonna say that again. I've had people who woke up out their day, do something fake to me, well, tried to do something fake to me, but be mad at my reaction to their fakeness. So again, there's nobody here on this God's green earth that I ever did anything intentionally to. It's not even a bad bone in my body to do that to anybody. So you can't talk about my reactions to disrespect. That's something different. Can't talk about my reactions to disrespect. Now, I have people hate on me, and I've done nothing to them. God is real. God is real. And I'm very proud of myself that I didn't have an evil bone in my body to try to hurt or try to sabotage anybody. A lot of people can't say that. Also, there's a lot of people who cannot make, how can I say this? I know there's a lot of people who are stagnant right now, who can't move because they're waiting for me to make my next move. I'm going to repeat that. There's a lot of people who cannot make their next move because they're steady watching, waiting to see what my next move is. But stay tuned. This is the Black Diamond Misfit. This is my story, and I'm the only one that can tell it. Bye.